Did you know that 80% of Guyana's entire population lives on just 20% of its land? That's right. Nearly the entire nation is packed into a narrow coastal strip, while the vast interior remains untouched rainforests, rivers, and wild savannas. But why is this happening? And what does it mean for the future of Guyana in 2025? The answer isn't just about geography, it's about history, opportunity, struggle, and human resilience. From families living in tiny apartments in Georgetown to untapped riches hidden deep in the interior, the story of Guyana is full of surprises, challenges, and hope. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might completely change how you see this nation. Segment 1. The facts. Guyana is a land of extremes. It covers 215,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of the United Kingdom. Yet, most of its interior is dense rainforest, rivers, and savanna, extremely difficult to inhabit. Here, life is harsh. Transportation is limited, electricity is rare, and even basic services like schools and hospitals are almost non-existent. Contrast this with the coastal strip, just 20% of the land, which is where nearly 3 out of every 4 Guyanese live. This is where the cities, towns, schools, jobs, and commerce are concentrated. Georgetown, the capital, pulses with life. Cars honk through traffic jams, marketplaces bustle with traders, and neighborhoods are filled with the laughter and struggles of daily life. Meanwhile, the interior remains mysterious, largely unexplored, and raw, a land of opportunity few can reach. Fact 2. The history behind the population cluster. This population pattern is deeply rooted in history. In the 17th century, the Dutch settled the coastal areas, building dikes and canals to control flooding from the Atlantic. Later, the British expanded these settlements, cultivating sugarcane, rice, and other crops along the fertile coast. Meanwhile, the interior remained ignored. Dense rainforest, dangerous wildlife, and isolation made it near impossible for large settlements. Even today, access to clean water, electricity, healthcare, and roads is limited. The rivers that cut through the interior may be beautiful, but they also create barriers, making transportation slow and dangerous. This is why, for centuries, the coast has been the heart of life in Guyana, concentrating not just the population, but also wealth and development. Fact 3. The impact on daily life. Living on the coast brings both opportunity and pressure. Schools, hospitals, and jobs are abundant compared to the interior, but so is competition. Housing prices are rising, neighborhoods are crowded, and traffic is a constant frustration. At the same time, the interior is a treasure chest of untapped resources. Minerals, timber, and even oil reserves lie hidden, yet most people cannot access them. Families face tough choices. Do they stay in the overcrowded coastal cities for jobs or take a risk and move inland for land and resources? For many, the cost and risk are simply too high. Fact 4. The Venezuelan influx. In 2025, the situation is even more complex. Thousands of Venezuelan migrants are moving into Guyana, fleeing economic collapse and political instability. Coastal cities like Georgetown and New Amsterdam are swelling, and the 20% of land that already feels crowded is under tremendous pressure. These migrations create real human stories. Children walking miles to school, families doubling up in cramped apartments, neighbors helping each other just to survive. It's a story of resilience, but also of stress and strain on infrastructure, healthcare, and public services. Every new family arriving adds to both the hope and the challenge of coastal life. Fact 5. The oil boom effect. At the same time, Guyana is in the middle of an oil boom, transforming its economy and global relevance. Major discoveries off the coast are attracting billions in foreign investment, and new jobs are emerging daily. Roads are being built, schools are planned, and towns are expanding into the interior. But here's the catch. Most people still prefer to stay on the coast. Why? Because inland living is still tough. Schools are few, hospitals limited, and housing scarce. Even with all the new opportunities, the majority remain tied to the coastal strip, showing just how deeply geography and infrastructure shape human behavior. Fact 6. The future of Guyana. What does the future hold for Guyana? Experts warn that if development in the interior does not accelerate soon, the fragile balance on the coast could collapse under its own weight. Imagine Georgetown in 2025, already the beating heart of the nation, but with traffic crawling at a standstill, housing costs soaring beyond what families can afford, and public services stretch to their absolute breaking point. Schools are overflowing, hospitals are crowded, and drainage systems can barely keep up with rising sea levels. The risks are real, and the consequences could be devastating. But amidst these warnings, there is also hope. The government has launched new initiatives, partnering with international investors and development agencies to bring infrastructure deeper into the interior. Roads are being expanded, bridges are being planned, and modern housing projects are no longer just ideas. They are slowly becoming reality. There is a bold vision at play to open Guyana's interior, not by destroying the rainforest, but by creating sustainable communities where opportunity meets preservation. Imagine new towns rising near rivers, powered by clean energy, offering jobs in ecotourism, agriculture, mining, and technology. Imagine a future where Guyanese families don't have to crowd along a vulnerable strip of coastline, but can instead choose a safer, healthier, and more balanced life inland. If this vision succeeds, Guyana could become a model for the world, a nation that grows while still protecting the lungs of the earth, its Amazon rainforest. It's not just about land, it's about freedom, dignity, and giving people the chance to live where their potential can truly flourish. Fact 7. Human stories and emotional impact. Let's pause the numbers and talk about people. Picture a family of 5 squeezed into a 2-bedroom apartment in Georgetown. The father leaves home at 5 a.m. to beat the traffic, but still spends hours commuting to work. The mother struggles with rising grocery prices, knowing that every week the family budget is stretched thinner and thinner. Their children attend schools where classrooms are so packed, teachers barely remember their names. Now, here's the twist. This family owns land inland. Acres of fertile ground passed down from their grandparents, but it sits untouched, unreachable, because there are no proper roads, no electricity, no water systems. The land is there, the opportunity is there, yet it feels like another world. This isn't just their story, it's the reality for thousands of Guyanese, people who dream of expanding, farming, building, or simply finding space to breathe, but who remain locked to the coast by circumstances beyond their control. And yet, amidst these struggles, there is something remarkable: resilience. Communities organize, neighbors share resources, young people create innovative businesses. Even in cramped environments, families don't give up. They adapt, they survive, and they keep hope alive. This is the human face of Guyana's geography. It is a story of dreams deferred but not destroyed, a story of sacrifices made today for the hope of a better tomorrow. And it reminds us that development is not just about economics. It's about dignity, belonging, and the chance for every Guyanese to write their own future. Fact 8. The global eye on Guyana. The world is watching Guyana. In 2025, this small nation, with just over 800,000 people, is suddenly standing at the center of international attention. Why? Because Guyana is no longer just a quiet Caribbean country. It is now an oil giant, a green powerhouse, and a country with one of the fastest growing economies on Earth. But here's the catch. The same imbalance in land settlement is becoming a global concern. Climate experts, investors, and foreign governments are asking, why isn't Guyana expanding inland? Why risk having nearly the entire population packed into a low-lying coastal strip that could disappear under rising seas? The world sees Guyana as both a warning and a model. A warning, because if development doesn't spread, millions could be displaced in just a few decades. But also a model, because if Guyana manages to develop its interior while protecting its forests, it could prove that growth and conservation can go hand in hand. The pressure is on, not just from inside Guyana, but from the entire world that now sees this small nation as a key player in the future of climate resilience, energy, and human survival. Fact 9. The choice of a generation. At the heart of this story lies a choice that will define Guyana's destiny for generations. Do they continue to crowd the coast, risking floods, storms, and social collapse? Or do they push inland, creating new cities, highways, and industries that bring balance and opportunity? This choice is not abstract, it's deeply personal. Imagine a young student in Georgetown today. Her parents worry about rising rents and floods, but her dreams are bigger. She wants a future where she doesn't have to choose between safety and success. She wants a Guyana where every citizen has room to grow, to breathe, to build a life without limits. And that's the question Guyana must answer in 2025. Will this generation be the one to break free from the coast and finally unlock the true potential of the land? Because if they succeed, Guyana won't just be another oil-rich country. It will become a symbol, a nation that took control of its geography, its history, and its future. A nation that refused to let 80% of its people live in 20% of its land forever. Guyana is a land of contrasts. In 2025, the truth is staggering. 80% of the population lives on just 20% of the land, while the remaining 80% of the country lies untouched, a vast treasure chest of forests, rivers, and untapped potential. The challenge is no longer a distant one. It is here. It is urgent, and it demands action. Can Guyana expand inland without losing its ecological soul? Can it create opportunity without sacrificing the rainforest? Can it give its people the space to thrive while also protecting the very land that sustains them? This story is not just about maps or statistics. It's about families. It's about resilience. It's about people who refuse to be defined by limitations. And it's about a nation standing at a crossroads where the decisions made today will echo for generations to come. Because one thing is certain, the world is watching Guyana, and the choices this small but mighty nation makes about land, people, and future will not only shape the destiny of its own citizens, but also influence the Caribbean, South America, and even the fight against climate change worldwide. Guyana's story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning.